Tonight, we're going to take a long, gentle journey through the story and deeper lore of Grand Theft Auto V, a world filled with sun-washed highways, the hum of distant traffic, the glitter of Vinewood lights, and the complicated lives of three men whose stories intertwine across the city of Los Santos. As you settle in, let your breathing slow. Let the sounds of the world around you soften, and allow this quiet retelling to guide you into rest. We'll move slowly through timelines, characters, histories, calmly, patiently, until the world of GTA V becomes a soft, dreamlike landscape as we begin our long, gentle journey into the world of Grand Theft Auto V. Let's take a moment to slowly settle into the atmosphere of the game's setting, the vibrant, chaotic, satirical, and strangely comforting world of Los Santos. Los Santos is more than just a city inside a game. It's a living, breathing landscape, a carefully crafted mirror of our own world, tilted slightly, exaggerated just enough to show the humor, the contradictions, and the absurdities of modern life. Tonight, we're not rushing through action. We're drifting, slowly, like a car cruising down the Del Perro freeway at night. Headlights gliding across the pavement, the city humming softly in the background. Take a deep breath, ease into comfort, and let's explore Los Santos together. The city of Los Santos. Los Santos is based on Los Angeles, but in the way a dream is based on reality. Everything feels familiar, yet slightly distorted, larger than life, and filled with its own strange energy. The skyline glows with neon signs. The Vinewood hills stretch in the distance, and palm trees sway gently along the boardwalk, like they're tired from holding up the sun all day. As you imagine this city, picture hazy sunsets, washing the sky with warm golds and oranges, those long, endless freeways that loop and curl like ribbons, and neighborhoods that shift from luxury and comfort to poverty and dust, sometimes only a few blocks apart. Los Santos is beautiful, but it's also broken, and the tension between those two states creates the atmosphere that defines the game. One of the most distinctive things about Los Santos is its role as a parody, a mirror held up to modern American culture. Almost every detail carries satire. Radio stations that mock celebrity culture, TV shows that exaggerate reality television, advertisements for bizarre products no one would actually need, but somehow might actually exist. Social media apps like Life Invader, poking fun at real-world tech giants. Every billboard, every commercial, every overheard conversation on the street serves as a commentary on society. But the tone isn't harsh. It's playful, self-aware, a gentle nudge at the strange things we often accept without thinking. In this sleepy retelling, let's simply drift past these details, letting them float by, like scenery outside a car window on a long drive. The geography of San Andreas, the world of GTA V, isn't only Los Santos. It's the entire fictional state of San Andreas, a compressed but vivid version of Southern California. To the north, the towering slopes of Mount Gilead watch over the world. Silent and steady, the forests breathe with the sounds of rustling leaves and gentle wildlife. The lakes shimmer quietly, reflecting the sky like a polished mirror. Farther south, the busy streets of downtown Los Santos pulse with energy, filled with honking cars and glowing skyscrapers. Along the coast, the beaches stretch endlessly, soft waves rolling in, the pier lit up with colorful lights. People jogging, biking, relaxing, or simply existing. Move inland just a little, and the world transforms again. Wide deserts, dusty towns, abandoned motels baking under the sun, traces of a life that used to be. San Andreas feels big, yet familiar, like a place you could almost imagine living in, if it weren't so beautifully chaotic. Even though GTA V is filled with crime and action, the world itself has a strange calmness to it, especially when you step away from the chaos. If you've ever driven through Los Santos at night, you might remember the muffled sound of tires on asphalt, the quiet pulse of electronic music on the radio, or the sight of distant lights twinkling on the hillsides. It creates a dreamlike feeling, a sense of drifting through a place that's real in emotion, even if not in geography. In a way, Los Santos is a character itself. Confusing, inviting, overwhelming, but unforgettable. The culture of Los Santos. Los Santos is divided, not just by geography, but by the cultures inside it. You have the glamorous, exaggerated lifestyle of Vinewood stars, and those who desperately want to become one. The polished, modern world of tech companies and influencers, near Vinewood and Rockford Hills. The gritty, street-level communities of South Los Santos, where loyalty, survival, and community define life. The carefree energy of Vespucci Beach, where skateboarders, tourists, and bodybuilders fill the sunlit walkways. The corporate world, downtown, glass towers, fancy offices, and quiet corruption. The quirky, sometimes eerie rural life of Blaine County, filled with conspiracy theorists, meth cookers, and small-town dreamers. Each area feels like its own small world, yet they all exist under the same sun. The NPCs and everyday life. If you ever stand still on a sidewalk in Los Santos, you can simply watch life go by. Pedestrians talk on phones, complain about jobs, argue with partners, laugh with friends, or just live their fictional lives. Some jog, some push shopping carts, some walk dogs, some shout about politics or celebrity gossip. Cars honk, buses pass by, helicopters drift overhead. It creates the feeling that Los Santos doesn't stop moving just because you do. This makes the world feel alive, even in the quietest moments. Moments perfect for relaxation, especially now. The weather and atmosphere. The weather in Los Santos adds another layer to its charm. Morning fog rolls through the city like a soft blanket. Golden sunlight bathes the streets at noon. Cloudless skies stretch endlessly overhead, and neon lights glow beautifully after sunset. Even the rare rain brings its own peaceful energy. Wet pavement reflecting the world in soft glimmers. Imagine walking through the city as raindrops tap gently on the sidewalks, the air cool and refreshing, the soundscape muted and calming. It's a world designed for excitement, yet it holds endless moments of quiet beauty. When you choose to look for them, the spirit of Los Santos at its heart. Los Santos represents a dream, the dream of wealth, fame, and success, but it also reflects the frustration and emptiness that can come with chasing those things. People in this world are always striving for something more, a bigger house, a faster car, a better life. Yet beneath the satire, there's a layer of humanity, a desire to be understood, a desire to belong, a desire to escape. In this way, Los Santos is both a playground and a reflection. During this sleep-friendly explanation, we let these themes drift softly around us, not to analyze them deeply, but simply to acknowledge the texture they bring to the world. Closing section 1. And so, as we gently conclude this first section, we leave behind a broad, relaxing overview of Los Santos and San Andreas, a world bright and chaotic, yet strangely peaceful when viewed from a distance, a place where satire meets beauty, where crime meets culture, and where countless stories unfold under the warm California sun. Now that you understand the world, we can slowly move onward to the events that shaped its story, starting with the snowy, distant memories of North Yankton. Whenever you're ready, we can continue. Before the bright lights of Los Santos, before the freeways, the beaches, and the endless warmth, there was a place far away, cold, quiet, and wrapped in endless winter. Tonight, we drift back to North Yankton, a frozen corner of America, and the birthplace of the story of Grand Theft Auto 5. Imagine the scene slowly forming, snow falling in soft, silent flakes, gray skies stretching endlessly overhead, the world muted, as if nature itself is holding its breath. This is the town of Ludendorff, small, remote, forgotten by most, the kind of place where winter feels eternal, and where everyone knows everyone else's business. It is here, in this cold, isolated place, that our story begins, the heist that starts everything. It's the year 2004. 3 men, Michael Townley, Trevor Phillips, and Brad Snyder, have chosen Ludendorff for a robbery, a bank heist, a last big score, before disappearing. The snowstorm outside is fierce, but inside the bank, the tension is even sharper. Yet in this calm retelling, we take a gentle breath and look at the moment differently, not as chaos or violence, but as the beginning of a long, winding journey. Michael is the planner, calculated, calm, even when things go wrong. Trevor is the wildfire, unpredictable, full of energy that burns bright and fast. Brad stands somewhere between them, steady, capable, loyal, at least loyal enough. Their personalities shape everything that follows, and tonight, we slowly explore how. The mood of North Yankton. North Yankton feels like a world frozen in time. The roads are covered in snow, cars buried beneath white blankets, streetlights glowing dimly against the icy wind. As the trio makes their way from the bank toward their getaway point, you can picture their footprints trailing behind them, soft impressions disappearing in the storm. The air is sharp and cold, the kind that stings your face and numbs your fingers, even through thick gloves. It's a stressful moment in the narrative, but for our retelling, we let it melt into slow, steady imagery. Snowflakes drifting downward, fading radio chatter in the background, the landscape stretching out, quiet and untouched, a secret deal. What Trevor and Brad don't know is that Michael has already made a deal with the government. He's tired of running, tired of crime, tired of the constant danger and the endless fear. In exchange for his freedom and safety for his family, he's promised the FIB that he'll cooperate. But deals like this are never simple, and they never end cleanly. Tonight, we aren't rushing through the details. We simply acknowledge the quiet weight of hidden choices, and how even small secrets can shift the course of years. Michael believes this heist will be his escape, his way out, a final chapter in a long, dark story. Trevor, however, believes they are unstoppable, invincible, a force that could keep going forever. This difference in vision is the crack in the foundation, the subtle fracture that will split wide open. Before the night is over, the betrayal seen through a soft lens. As the trio races toward the getaway point, sirens echo in the distance. Flashing lights flicker through the swirling snow, and the storm grows louder. To Trevor, it's the thrill of the chase. To Michael, it's the moment everything must unfold, exactly as planned. Yet in this gentle retelling, we slow the scene down, as if watching it through frosted glass. Brad is suddenly shot. A sharp, quick moment. He falls into the snow, red mixing with white. Trevor panics, his voice raw, emotional, because he believes that the police fired the shot. He doesn't yet know that Michael set the trap. The FIB agent, Dave Norton, fired the bullet. It was meant for Michael, to make his fake death look real, but it struck Brad instead. Everything begins to unravel, slowly, softly, like a snowdrift collapsing under its own weight. Trevor tries to rescue Michael, believing he's wounded, believing his friend is dying, believing they've all been betrayed by the world, not by each other. The truth that Michael betrayed them will only reveal itself years later. Tonight, We let the tension fade and simply observe the emotional landscape. Beneath the surface, Michael's fake death. Michael collapses into the snow, acting out the role that will become the lie his whole life is built upon. To Trevor, it looks real. It feels real. Snow gathers on Michael's coat. The storm howls around them. Blood stains the cold ground. And in that moment, Trevor loses the two people he believed he could rely on. Brad to death. Michael to what he believes is the same fate. Trevor is heartbroken. Something rare for him, and something that shapes the entire future of the story. We let this moment breathe, quietly, without the sharpness of the original scene. Just a man in a snowstorm, shouting into the wind, grief mixing with disbelief. Trevor's escape into the wilderness. As the police close in, Trevor flees into the snowy fields. Shots echo faintly behind him, but soon fade into the distance. The world grows quieter again, just the wind, and Trevor's footsteps crunching through the snow, each step carrying him farther from the life he once shared. With Michael and Brad, this moment becomes symbolic. Trevor is running, not just from the police, but from a version of his life that has suddenly ended. He disappears into the white landscape, leaving behind the past, but carrying its weight. Deep inside him, Michael's new identity. Meanwhile, Michael's deal takes effect. The FIB pulls him out, stages his death, and relocates him thousands of miles away. To Los Santos, a new name, a new house, a new life. But even surrounded by sunshine and palm trees, the shadow of North Yankton never truly leaves him. This contrast between the cold, harsh memories and the warm, artificial calm of Los Santos creates the emotional foundation for everything that follows. The lasting echo of the prologue. North Yankton may appear only briefly in the game, but its impact echoes through every chapter of the story. It explains Michael's guilt, Trevor's rage, the complex history between them, their fractured trust, their need for closure. In our gentle retelling, the prologue becomes less about action and more about the emotional threads it weaves. Threads that stretch forward to shape the entire narrative, leaving the snow behind. And now, as we let North Yankton fade softly into quiet memory, we transition slowly toward Michael's new life in Los Santos. The snowstorm drifts away, the cold dissolves, and the warm California sun begins to rise in its place. Whenever you're ready, we can continue to Section 3, moving deeper into the lore, at a comfortable, relaxing pace. As the cold winds of North Yankton fade into memory, the scene shifts gently, softly, into the warm, hazy sunlight of Los Santos. Palms sway in the breeze. Cars glide lazily down the boulevard. The sky stretches in endless blue. And here, hidden among the hills and luxury homes, a man once known as Michael Townley lives under a new name, Michael DeSanta. Tonight, we settle into this new chapter, not with excitement or tension, but with calm curiosity, as if we're quietly observing a man who got everything he once wanted, and yet feels strangely empty. Let's drift into his world, slowly, gently, and explore the quiet details of his new life, a life built on a deal. Michael is alive because of a deal he made in desperation, a deal that gave him a fresh identity, protection from the FIB, and a comfortable home in Los Santos. But comfort, as we soon learn, does not guarantee happiness. He lives in a large house in Rockford Hills, a wealthy neighborhood, inspired by Beverly Hills, with tall hedges, quiet streets, and the soft hum of expensive cars, passing by like gentle waves. To any outsider, Michael appears to be living a dream life. A beautiful home, a swimming pool, a loving family at least on paper, and enough money to never worry again. But beneath the surface, his new life is restless, uneasy. unfulfilled. The price of safety was the loss of the only life he ever truly understood, a man out of place. Michael spends much of his time sitting alone by his pool or wandering aimlessly through his home, lost in thought. He's nostalgic for the excitement and thrill of the life he left behind, but at the same time, he's afraid of slipping back into violence, afraid of losing his family, afraid of being caught in the web of consequences he created. He lives in a strange in-between state, a man trying to be normal, but never quite fitting the role. Imagine him there, lounging in a beach chair, under the warm Los Santos sun, sunglasses on, drink in hand, but his mind far away, still roaming the snowy roads of North Yankton. The family dynamic. Michael's family is both a source of love and a source of constant frustration. His wife, Amanda, is distant, drifting through her own desires for happiness and escape. Sometimes she practices yoga, sometimes she shops endlessly, sometimes she lashes out from years of resentment. Their marriage feels tired, stretched thin by secrets, money problems, and emotional distance. Their daughter, Tracy, is caught up in the culture of dreaming of stardom, chasing reality TV fame, and struggling to find her own identity. Their son, Jimmy, spends his days glued to video games, getting into trouble online, and drifting through life without direction. Michael wants to connect with them. He wants to be a good father, but the weight of his past lies heavily between them, like an invisible wall he doesn't know how to break through. Therapy sessions with Dr. Friedlander to cope with his growing dissatisfaction. Michael attends therapy sessions with Dr. Isaiah Friedlander. These sessions are quiet, slow moments where Michael tries, sometimes sincerely, sometimes sarcastically, to understand what's gone wrong. Dr. Friedlander listens, offers advice, and occasionally charges Michael far more than seems reasonable. Michael talks about his marriage, his regrets, his anger, his boredom, and his desire for something meaningful. But the truth is, he doesn't know what he wants. He only knows that the life he built isn't working the way he imagined. In this peaceful retelling, we picture the therapist's office as a quiet, softly lit room, chairs angled comfortably, the faint buzz of an air conditioner humming, and Michael's voice carrying the weight of a man who feels lost. The routine of retirement. Michael tries to fill his days with ordinary activities, jogging in the neighborhood, watching movies, going for drives, visiting stores, wandering the golf course, sitting by the pool, experimenting with hobbies that never truly interest him. But nothing fits. Nothing feels like home. His real home, emotionally, was the adrenaline-fueled world he left behind. He is a man, used to danger, to planning, to taking risks, and now he fills his time with distractions that never satisfy the void. Each day blends into the next, soft, warm, hollow. A man haunted by memory, even though Michael tries to hide from his past. It follows him everywhere. Sometimes he goes on drives across the city, wandering aimlessly, just to feel movement again. As he cruises down the highway, he thinks about Trevor, about Brad, about the life that ended in that snowy town. The bright California sun never fully warms those cold memories, and deep down, Michael knows that running from the past only works for so long. Signs of restlessness. Slowly, quietly, you begin to see cracks in Michael's peaceful facade, a spark in his eye when he watches a robbery on the news, a subtle smile when talking about the old days, a familiar itch when he thinks about fast cars and quick money. The thrill is calling, not loudly, not urgently, but like a soft whisper that grows clearer. Each passing day, Michael wants purpose again. He wants meaning. He wants to feel alive. And all of this tension, quiet but persistent, builds up until the moment that will change everything. The moment before Franklin. Before Michael meets Franklin, his life is like a calm ocean, with waves beneath the surface, beginning to form. The world around him is peaceful, quiet, almost sleepy. But inside him, something is shifting. His desire for action and his longing for meaning are slowly waking up. And soon, a simple encounter with a young repossession worker named Franklin Clinton will set the rest of the story in motion. But for now, as we close this section, Michael is still waiting, still drifting, still searching for something he cannot name. A man with a new identity, a beautiful home, a fractured family, and a heart full of unresolved history. And so, as we gently leave Michael's early days in Los Santos behind, we move into the next chapter, where paths begin to cross, and destinies entwine. Now, as we leave Michael drifting through the warm, uneasy comfort of his quiet Los Santos retirement, our attention turns gently toward a very different part of the city, a place where ambition grows like a stubborn weed between cracked sidewalks, where dreams shine brightly, even in neighborhoods forgotten by the wealthy, and where the world feels just a little bit sharper, a little more real. This is South Los Santos, a neighborhood of graffiti and fast food signs, of tight-knit communities, and of challenges that shape the people who live there. And it is here that we meet the second key figure in the story of GTA V, a young man named Franklin Clinton, a young man searching for more. Franklin is not a criminal, in the same way Michael or Trevor once were. He's young, sharp, ambitious, hungry for a better life. He's not interested in chaos, or danger, or notoriety. He wants something else entirely, a chance to rise above the limitations of the world he grew up in. As we settle into this gentle retelling, picture Franklin walking down the warm streets of Strawberry and Chamberlain Hills, sunlight dancing across the hood of passing cars, neighbors chatting on porches, the faint thump of music drifting from open windows. In this environment, Franklin tries to carve out a path that looks different from the one expected of him. Growing up in Los Santos, Franklin's childhood was shaped by instability. He bounced between homes, between influences, and between opportunities that never seemed to last. His grandmother raised him for much of his early life, a strict, grounded presence who tried to guide him toward something hopeful. But after she passed away, Franklin inherited a small, run-down house, and many of the pressures that come with living in a neighborhood where survival often outweighs dreams. In his quiet moments, moments we imagine under warm streetlights or quiet nights, Franklin thinks about the life he wants. Stable, successful, free. But the path to that life isn't always clear. Lamar Davis, the loyal friend. In Franklin's story, one name keeps coming up. Lamar. Lamar Davis is more than a friend. He's practically family. Someone who shares Franklin's past, his streets, and his memories. Lamar is energetic, loud, optimistic. In his own reckless way, he believes the two of them can make it big together. Through hustles, scores, and shortcuts. Where Franklin is cautious, Lamar is fearless. Where Franklin thinks things through, Lamar jumps headfirst. Their dynamic creates a gentle balance. Franklin is the anchor, Lamar the spark. And even though Franklin often disagrees with Lamar's ideas, there's genuine loyalty between them, a bond that feels like brotherhood. In our sleep-friendly narration, picture the two of them leaning against a car late at night, streetlights flickering overhead, talking about dreams they aren't quite sure how to reach, working for Simeon Yetarian to make ends meet. Franklin works as a repossession agent for Simeon Yetarian, a car dealer with a smile just a little too wide and morals just a little too flexible. Simeon operates in the gray areas, and sometimes the not-so-gray ones. Franklin's job is to repossess vehicles from customers who can't keep up with their payments, often because the deals themselves were designed to fail. This is where Franklin's frustration grows. He wants to do things the right way, the smart way, the honest way, if such a way even exists in Los Santos. But Simeon's business forces him into situations that remind him constantly of the trap he's trying to escape. Imagine Franklin driving a nice car back to the dealership, one he wishes he could own for real, knowing it will be sold again to someone else who shouldn't buy it. It's honest work in name, but not in spirit. Franklin's view of Los Santos. Franklin sees the city differently from other characters. To Michael, Los Santos is a refuge and a reminder of what he left behind. To Trevor, it's an annoyance, a place too crowded, too fake, too polished. But to Franklin, Los Santos is a ladder, a place where the right connections might lift him into a world beyond the one he was born into. He admires the wealth of Vinewood Hills, the luxury cars cruising down Rockford Drive, the mansions tucked behind gates and glowing security lights. He dreams of belonging there, not because he wants to steal his way in, but because he believes he can earn it. He wants purpose, direction, and a life where he's respected for more than just street smarts. Caught between worlds, Franklin's conflict comes from being pulled in two directions. On one side, Lamar, the homies, the old neighborhood, people he loves, but who often resist change or ambition. On the other side, the wealthier, quieter world of Upper Los Santos, a place he longs for, but feels shut out from. Inside him, there's a constant tension between loyalty and progress, between where he comes from and where he wants to go. Late at night, sitting on the worn-out couch in his modest home, Franklin reflects on these choices, the life he wants, and the steps required to reach it. These quiet, introspective moments shape his character more deeply than any heist or mission. The spark of change. As Franklin works for Simeon, he starts to see cracks in the life he's living. He watches the rich driving the cars he repossesses. He sees neighborhoods where people wake up without fear. He drives past beautiful houses and wonders what it feels like to live without limits. Something inside him says, there has to be more. He wants mentorship, guidance, opportunity, and the universe, in its strange, unpredictable way, is about to give it to him, because soon Franklin will cross paths with a man he sees as older, wiser, and already living the life he dreams about. Someone who has everything Franklin wants, except happiness. Someone named Michael DeSanta. Their meeting will change everything, but for now, Franklin is still searching, still dreaming, still standing on the edge of the life he hopes to build. And so, as we gently close this chapter, we leave Franklin walking through the streets of South Los Santos, a young man with ambition, a sense of direction, and a heart full of determination. He doesn't know it yet, but the path to his future is already forming. Now that we've wandered through the warm silence of Michael's uneasy retirement and walked the sunlit streets of Franklin's determined ambition, we arrive at the moment where their two paths gently, quietly, and almost accidentally begin to cross. This meeting, simple at first, becomes the spark that ignites the entire story of GTA V. Let's drift into this chapter, as if we're watching it unfold in slow motion. A calm blending of two worlds that were never meant to meet, yet were always destined to collide. The setup, two lives moving toward each other. Picture the city of Los Santos in the soft early afternoon sunlight, the kind of day where the breeze is warm and the sky is clear, and traffic hums softly like a background melody. In one corner of the city, Michael lounges in his expensive home, restless, bored, wondering what the next day will bring. In another corner, Franklin drives around South Los Santos in a repossession vehicle, doing the work he hates, but doing it well, because he knows it's only temporary. Neither of them knows that their lives are slowly drifting toward a single point, a moment that will change the course of both of their futures. The repossession job. Franklin's story brings him to a job from Simeon Yotarian, a simple task, reposes a car from a spoiled, entitled young man who stopped paying his loan. That young man happens to be Jimmy DeSanta, Michael's son. Franklin doesn't know this yet. To him, it's just another job, another assignment from Simeon that he'll complete with quiet professionalism and maybe a sigh or two. He drives through the nicer neighborhoods, streets lined with palm trees and spotless white sidewalks. The lawns are bright green, the houses are modern, stylish, and far removed from Franklin's world as he rolls through Rockford Hills. Franklin can't help but take it all in, the luxury he wants for himself someday, the success he's been chasing his whole life. He arrives at the DeSanta residence, a home that looks like a dream to someone from Franklin's neighborhood. Huge windows, elegant stonework, a driveway wide enough to park 3 cars comfortably. There, hidden in the garage, is the car Franklin has been sent to repossess. A beautiful, shiny white car that practically glows in the sunlight. Franklin breaks in quietly, skillfully, without causing damage. Because even in crime, he tries to maintain professionalism. He doesn't know that someone is watching him. Michael in the shadows. Michael, restless and suspicious, has been sitting quietly in the back seat of the car this entire time. He watches Franklin with calm interest, not angry, not afraid, but curious about the young man who handles himself with more care and precision than a typical thief. When Franklin starts the engine and slowly backs the car out of the driveway, Michael doesn't react aggressively. Instead, he waits, listens, thinks. Something about Franklin reminds him of a younger version of himself, ambitious, skilled, and caught between worlds. Once they're safely on the road, Michael leans forward and speaks in a quiet, commanding tone. "You're not very good at this," he says. Franklin nearly jumps in surprise. This moment, half comedic and half tense, in the original game. We soften here, turning it into a calm meeting between two people who were destined to connect. Michael questions Franklin, and Franklin answers honestly. There's no hostility, just a subtle understanding passing between them. Michael realizes this young man is not a criminal. In the chaotic, reckless sense, he sees potential, skill, a sharp mind, and Franklin sees in Michael a man who carries himself differently than anyone he knows. Driving together the first bond, Michael directs Franklin to drive the repossessed car back to Simeon's dealership. But with a twist, he wants to confront Simeon for exploiting his son and taking advantage of desperate people. As they drive together, the first hints of a bond form, not spoken directly, not acknowledged outright, but quietly present. Franklin asks questions with polite curiosity. Michael answers them with a mix of sarcasm and genuine interest. It's like two worlds slowly adjusting to each other. Franklin respects Michael almost immediately. Something about his tone, his confidence, his presence feels different. Michael sees in Franklin a young man with drive, someone who could have taken a far darker path, but instead chose discipline and precision. If Michael is a man running from his past, Franklin is a man running toward his future. And for a short moment, their two paths run parallel. The confrontation at the dealership. The car arrives at Simeon's dealership. Michael steps out, Franklin following behind him. Inside, the tone shifts. Michael is no longer just a quiet observer. He becomes the powerful, commanding force he once was in his criminal days. He confronts Simeon for deceiving his son Jimmy with predatory loan terms. The argument escalates, but in our calm retelling, the moment is softened, a slow unraveling of Simeon's attempts to defend himself. Michael, tired of dishonesty, responds with frustration. Franklin watches carefully as Michael makes a choice to stand up for his family. A flawed decision, but one filled with intent. This confrontation leaves a mark on Franklin's mind. He sees Michael as someone who understands the world of crime, not as a wild adventure, but as a complicated space where choices have consequences. Franklin admires that. He sees wisdom in Michael, even if the man himself doesn't always see it. The aftermath: a seed is planted. After the confrontation, Michael pulls Franklin aside. He doesn't say much. He doesn't make promises, but he acknowledges Franklin's skill and the fact that he handled himself better than most. For a quiet moment, they simply stand together. Outside the dealership, the warm breeze blowing, cars passing by, the city unaware of what has just begun. Michael walks away, back toward his complicated family life. Franklin returns to the streets, thinking about the strange, intense man he just met. Neither of them realize that they will soon depend on each other, not just for crime, but for growth, for understanding, and for a chance at something more than the life they're living. A seed has been planted, slowly, quietly, gently, and everything that follows will grow from this moment. And so, as this chapter closes softly around us, we leave Franklin and Michael standing at the beginning of a partnership that will reshape their futures. Now, we drift away from the noise of Los Santos, the traffic, the bright lights, the hum of city life beneath the endless sun. Our story takes us far north, past the golden freeways, past the dried, cracked riverbeds, past the lonely telephone poles that stretch endlessly into the horizon. We travel into the quiet, dusty stillness of Blaine County, and in this sun-bleached world, cut off from the city and from the past, lives a man whose story is unlike anyone else's. A man named Trevor Phillips. Trevor's isolation, Trevor's life in the desert, is built on a mix of chaos and routine, both strangely balanced, like a constant storm, with brief moments of calm. He lives in a small, run-down trailer in Sandy Shores, a community scattered along the Alamo Sea, where neighbors know each other but mind their own business. The trailer is messy, filled with the debris of long nights and short tempers, empty bottles, old food containers, and the remnants of Trevor's unpredictable moods. And yet, in a strange way, this place feels like home to him. It's quiet, it's lawless, it's free. Here, Trevor can be himself, unfiltered, unrestrained, unapologetically Trevor. Out here, nobody demands that he be normal. Nobody expects him to change. Nobody judges him. This is where he's been since the snowstorm heist in North Yankton, since the day he lost Michael, or believed he had. A day that rewrote his entire life, haunted by Michael's death. Even though years have passed, a shadow hangs over Trevor's life, a quiet ache that never fully goes away. For so long, he believed that Michael died in that blizzard, betrayed, ambushed, and lost forever. Trevor never stopped carrying that pain. He buried it under rage, under violence, under wild energy. But late at night, when the desert winds blow softly against the thin metal walls of his trailer, the truth crawls back into his thoughts. Michael, his closest friend, his partner in crime, the only person who truly understood him, gone. And with that loss came a loneliness even Trevor couldn't outrun. This loneliness shapes him. It's why he lashes out, why he acts without fear, why he rejects stability, and embraces chaos, because the one person who might have helped him find peace is the very person he thinks he can never see again. The Trevor Phillips Enterprises. To survive in Blaine County, Trevor built his own operation. Small, chaotic, unrefined, but surprisingly effective. Trevor Phillips Enterprises. It's a messy, unpredictable, criminal business, focused on smuggling, weapons, and sometimes less legitimate activities. Trevor works with a rotating cast of strangers, drifters, and desert locals. But one person stands out as a constant presence in his life. Ron Yakowski. Ron is Trevor's loyal friend, paranoid, anxious, constantly talking about conspiracies and government spies. To anyone else, Ron's behavior would be overwhelming, but to Trevor, Ron is comforting, a reminder that loyalty still exists in a world full of betrayal. Meanwhile, another figure drifts in and out of Trevor's life. Wade. Wade is optimistic, naive, and endlessly devoted to Trevor, sometimes to a dangerous degree. Together, Trevor, Ron, and Wade form a strange little family, chaotic, disorganized, but bonded in their own unusual way. The desert's rhythm, life in sandy shores, follows its own gentle, dusty rhythm. Days start with the hum of distant helicopters and the slow movement of the sun rising over the cracked earth. The air is dry in the mornings, cool for a moment, before the heat settles in. The desert stretches out in all directions, silent except for the occasional distant call of birds or the slow passing of a pickup truck on a lonely highway. Trevor wakes up late, steps outside barefoot, and looks across the landscape. The still water of the Alamo Sea, the faded colors of rusted boats, the mountains standing tall in the hazy distance. Even in his chaos, Trevor appreciates this world in ways few others do. To him, the desert is honest. It doesn't pretend to be anything else. It doesn't judge him. It simply exists, and Trevor exists alongside it. Unraveling tensions in Blaine County. Trevor's business, small though it is, creates conflict with other groups in the area. He clashes with the Lost Motorcycle Club, a biker gang that once worked with him, but now sees him as a threat. He clashes with drug dealers and local criminals who underestimate him. He clashes with a wealthy family known as the O'Neills, whose business interests collide violently with his own. But these conflicts aren't the heart of Trevor's story. They're symptoms of a deeper truth. Trevor feels trapped between anger and longing. He wants purpose. He wants loyalty. He wants something real, but he doesn't know how to find it. Not yet. A life waiting for change. Despite his chaos, despite his violent impulses, Trevor is intelligent, resourceful, observant. He sees patterns others don't see. He senses shifts others overlook. And deep within him is a quiet intuition that something major is about to change. Somewhere in Los Santos, Michael, the friend he believes is gone, is living a quiet life behind fences and empty wealth. Somewhere out there, their destinies are slowly drifting back toward each other. Trevor doesn't know how, or when, or why, but he can feel it. A tremor in the background, a disturbance in the rhythm of his life. The universe, in its strange and winding way, is preparing to reveal a truth that will shake Trevor's world to its core. But for now, Trevor lives his life as he always has, wild, restless, and deeply, quietly lonely. And so, as this chapter settles like dust over the quiet desert air, we leave Trevor standing in the doorway of his trailer, looking across the flat, sunlit world he has claimed as his own. He doesn't know that everything is about to change, that the friend he lost is alive, that the past is returning, but the moment is coming, and soon, their worlds will collide in a way none of them expect. Now, let us drift gently back into the world of Los Santos, where the warm air carries the distant hum of traffic, where the glow of streetlights softens the restless darkness, and where lives, once separated by time, by distance, and by fate, begin quietly circling toward each other again. This is the moment where past and present start to collide, where long-buried truths rise slowly through the dust, where Michael's quiet suburban life cracks open under the weight of a single decision, and Trevor, far out in the desert, feels a ripple that changes everything. This is the chapter where the impossible happens. The yacht incident, a chain reaction begins. We begin with something small. Michael's son, Jimmy, tries to impress a friend by taking the family yacht out to sea. But things go badly, as things often do. When Jimmy is involved, the yacht is stolen. Jimmy is kidnapped briefly, and a chaotic chase unfolds through the highways of Los Santos. Franklin helps Michael rescue Jimmy, and together they retrieve the yacht, at least long enough to see it slipping away on a transporter truck rolling into the distance. This might seem minor, a family mishap, a moment of frustration, but it becomes the spark that lights the fuse, because what follows is a deeper collision with Michael's old habits he thought he'd buried years ago. Amanda's mistakes and Michael's breaking point. Not long after the yacht incident, Michael discovers something else. His wife, Amanda, has been sleeping with her tennis coach. Michael, impulsive and furious, chases the coach through Vinewood Hills, Franklin reluctantly following behind. They track the coach to what Michael believes is his house, a stunning cliffside mansion overlooking the city. In his rage, Michael tears the supports out from under the house, sending half the structure crumbling down the hill in a cloud of dust and debris. But the house doesn't belong to the coach. It belongs to the Madrazo cartel, one of the most dangerous families in the entire region. And when Martin Madrazo arrives, with quiet menace and unbroken calm, Michael realizes he's just blown up the home of a very powerful man. Madrazo demands repayment, millions of dollars, money that Michael doesn't have. And so, Michael turns back to the only life he knows, the life he promised himself he would never return to. He decides to rob again. One heist, one score, one desperate attempt to fix everything. And this decision, this return to crime, is the moment that awakens a ghost. The jewel store heist, a signal sent into the past. Michael recruits Franklin for his first job back in the game, a quiet, precise robbery of a high-end jewelry store, with planning, practice, and careful execution. They pull it off beautifully. The heist goes smoothly. Michael feels alive again. For a brief, shimmering moment, he remembers who he used to be, the man of action, the strategist, the leader. But the success comes with a cost. The way Michael speaks, the mask he wears, the techniques he uses, it all echoes the heists he once performed with Trevor. Old habits, old rhythms, old signatures. The news reports describe the robbery. They hint at a familiar style. And far away in Blaine County, where the desert stretches endlessly beneath the sun, Trevor hears the broadcast. Trevor hears the news. Imagine Trevor sitting outside his trailer in the warm afternoon heat. A radio plays nearby, static-filled, distant, barely clear enough to understand. Trevor isn't paying attention at first. He's lost in thought, or maybe lost in anger, or maybe simply drifting in the slow desert haze. But then he hears the words: a jewelry store robbery, a crew of masked thieves, a familiar method, a familiar sound in the robber's voice. Even through the distortion, it couldn't be. It shouldn't be, but Trevor feels it, deep in his bones. A shock, a tremor, a jolt of recognition, and disbelief, and hope, all tangled together. Trevor stands up, slowly at first, then with sudden, explosive certainty. Michael isn't dead. He's alive. The friend he mourned, the partner he buried, the brother he lost. He's out there, in Los Santos, living quietly, living a lie. And Trevor feels something he hasn't felt in years. Purpose, Trevor's rage, and his relief. The moment Trevor realizes Michael is alive is complicated. He is furious. Betrayed by the man he trusted most. He is heartbroken, realizing Michael chose a new life without him. But he is also relieved, overwhelmed, flooded with emotions he cannot name. Michael, who he believed died in his arms during the snowstorm heist, was alive this whole time. Trevor's emotions swirl like a storm across the desert sky. Rage, hope, sadness, excitement, and beneath all of it, a painful truth. Trevor never stopped missing him, not once. Trevor's journey to Los Santos. Without hesitation, Trevor decides to go to Los Santos. He drags Wade along with him, a quiet companion in this strange pilgrimage. As they drive through the desert, dust trailing behind them like a ghost. Trevor grows quiet, not calm, but quiet, not angry, but focused. This isn't just a road trip, it's a return to a part of himself he thought he'd lost. When the desert fades, and the city skyline rises in the distance, the tall buildings catching the sunlight, the highways curling like veins, Trevor's chest tightens. Los Santos, the city of lies, the city of dreams, the city of their past, and somewhere in that vast, sprawling world, Michael is living his comfortable life, with a family built on secrets. Trevor is ready to rip the truth open. The reunion softened for sleep. In the game, Michael and Trevor's reunion is intense and explosive, but in this gentle bedtime retelling, we soften the moment. We soften the moment, slow it down, let it unfold. Like a warm, steady breath, Trevor arrives at Michael's house. He stands on the sidewalk, looking at the quiet suburban home. White walls, trimmed hedges, a peaceful life built on a foundation of lies. Michael steps outside, expecting just another day, and then he sees him, a figure from a life long gone, a man he never expected to stand on his lawn. Trevor, alive, standing under the soft glow of the afternoon sun. For a moment, both men stand still, time stretching thin. Between them, no shouting, no accusation, just the weight of years settling around them. Michael is shocked. Trevor is overwhelmed. Their past, messy, painful, beautiful, violent, hangs in the air. And then, slowly, Michael steps forward. Trevor's eyes soften. Just for a moment. A long, quiet silence follows. A reunion, built not on words, but on the simple acknowledgement that their story is not finished yet. As this chapter settles, we leave Michael and Trevor standing together again. Two men bound by history and loyalty, and the mistakes that shaped their lives. Their reunion marks the beginning of a new, unpredictable chapter. The past is no longer buried, the future is no longer certain, and the world of Los Santos is about to tremble beneath the weight of their partnership. The jewel store heist, a glittering act of desperation that binds our three characters together more tightly than ever before. Let's sink into it, slowly, softly, as if watching events unfold. Through warm candlelight, a city under pressure. Los Santos at night glows with neon reflections, a shimmering skyline where dreams and troubles blend into one horizon. After years of hiding, Michael has broken his fragile illusion of normal life. By returning to crime, he has invited the past to step forward again. Franklin, still searching for purpose, is pulled deeper into Michael's orbit, a world of heists, planning, and precision. Trevor, far away in Blaine County, feels the ripple of Michael's return to crime like an instinctive tremor. In the back of his mind, everything is shifting. Quietly, inevitably, preparing for the heist.com before the storm, before the jewel store job becomes the spark that reunites old friends and attracts unwanted attention. It begins with planning. Slow, careful planning. Michael and Franklin scope out the jewelry store, moving through Vinewood as ordinary shoppers, their eyes quietly analyzing every corner, every camera, every entrance and escape route. Franklin listens as Michael teaches him the art of a proper heist. Not reckless, not chaotic, but smart, efficient, well-timed. Michael's voice is calm and steady, the voice of a man stepping back into a role he once mastered. Franklin absorbs every word, feeling a spark of pride, a sense of mentorship he's never really had. This is what he wants, a chance to rise, to learn, to grow, and so he follows Michael's lead with quiet determination. Choosing a crew, new faces join the story. To pull off the job, Michael needs a small, skilled team. This is where we meet a few new faces, characters whose lives briefly intersect with our main trio. There's Lester, the brilliant strategist who provides plans, tech expertise, and a calm voice. Amid the noise of crime, Lester becomes the steady heartbeat of their operations, a quiet mind that gives order to chaos. Then there are the hired crew members, a hacker, a gunman, and a driver. Their names matter less than the roles they play. They are pieces on a board, useful, temporary, and often forgettable, but even they are woven into the rhythm of the heist. And as the crew comes together, the sense of anticipation builds, like a soft, rising hum beneath the city. The jewel store heist, a quiet masterpiece. Let's move through this heist, slowly, softly, like watching a movie. In gentle slow motion, the team arrives at the store in the early morning when the air is cool and the city is just waking up. Franklin enters first, calm, steady. He deploys a knockout gas through the store's vents, sending the employees into peaceful, dreamlike sleep. Michael steps inside, his movements precise, his mind sharp. There is no shouting, no panic, no unnecessary noise. It is a heist conducted like a quiet ballet. Glass cases sparkle under soft lights as they are opened. Diamonds and gold and gleaming jewelry are carefully placed into bags. For a brief moment, everything is still, a perfect heist, executed with elegance. Franklin feels the rush of success. Michael feels the echo of the man he used to be. Together, they escape into the bright, rising sunlight of Los Santos. A flawless moment, but like all bright things, its shine draws attention. The aftermath, a signal sent. News spreads quickly. Reporters describe the heist with awe and fascination. The precision, the style, the familiar patterns. Someone out there recognizes the technique. Someone who once shared it. Trevor, far away in the desert. Trevor hears the news and feels a surge of grief and hope and fury, all tangled together. The jewel store heist is more than a crime. It's a message, a signal to a man who thought his closest friend was long gone. A signal that Michael is alive. Franklin's first taste of big crime. For Franklin, the heist leaves a deep mark. It's his first real step into the world of high-level crime. Not street-level hustles, not small-time scores, but something larger, more dangerous, more meaningful. He feels proud, focused, energized. Michael sees potential in him, a younger version of himself, full of hunger and hope. Their partnership grows, quietly, naturally, almost like a father guiding a son. Franklin's first taste of big crime. For Franklin, the heist leaves a deep mark. It's his first real step into the world of high-level crime. Not street-level hustles, not small-time scores, but something larger, more dangerous, more meaningful. He feels proud, focused, energized. Michael sees potential in him, a younger version of himself, full of hunger and hope. Their partnership grows, quietly, naturally, almost like a father guiding a son, into a world the father knows all too well. But Franklin doesn't see the storm coming. Not yet. He doesn't know that the success of this heist will bring Trevor down from the desert and into their lives. In a whirlwind of intensity, Michael's slip back into the past. Michael's life begins to shift. The thrill of the heist awakens something in him, an energy, a longing, a restless spirit that suburbia never satisfied. He starts slipping back into old habits, the secrecy, the adrenaline, the satisfaction of doing something that requires real skill. But the more he embraces the past, the more fragile his present becomes. Amanda senses the change. His children feel it. Even Franklin notices the complicated weight behind Michael's eyes. The heist fixes one problem, the debt to the Madrazo family, but creates something much larger. It reopens a chapter Michael wasn't ready to face. Trevor's shadow approaches. As the news spreads, as whispers travel through the desert wind, Trevor begins preparing to return to Los Santos. His movements grow quiet, his thoughts sharpen. The jewel store job wasn't just a heist. It was a reunion call. Unintentional, but impossible to ignore. For Trevor, it means only one thing. Michael is alive. Michael has returned to crime. Michael is close enough to find. Trevor's journey back begins with rage, but beneath it is something gentler. Loneliness, longing, a need for closure. Soon, their worlds will collide again. And so, as we gently close this chapter, we leave Los Santos bathed in warm afternoon light, the city unaware that its greatest storm is beginning to gather. Michael has returned to crime. Franklin is stepping into a larger world. Trevor is following the signal left by the heist, drawn back toward the friend he believed dead. The jewel store job set everything into motion, and the consequences will shape the future of all three men. Let your body relax, breathe, and drift into the story. This is the moment where the quiet ripples of the jewel store heist reach the desert, carried on dry winds, whispered through small-town bars, and murmured between old criminals who still remember the way a perfect job used to feel. Trevor Phillips, living in the dusty chaos of Blaine County, hears that whisper, and with it, the past awakens. Now, we sink gently into Trevor's journey, the storm behind his eyes, and the emotional shockwave that will carry him back into Michael's world. This section is long, deep, and soothing, perfect for drifting off. As the story unfolds like a slow dream, the desert wakes slowly. Wind brushes across cracked earth. Sunlight warms the edges of distant mountains. Dust glitters in the morning air, like drifting particles of gold. Trevor's trailer, weathered and worn, sits in the middle of this peaceful emptiness. A strange, chaotic home, in a place that feels almost timeless. On this morning, Trevor sits outside, half listening to the radio, half lost in his thoughts, a cup of lukewarm coffee resting loosely in his hand. He hears a news report, a robbery in Los Santos, a jewelry store, precise, clean, professional, too professional. Trevor's eyes soften, and then tighten as a memory stirs. A memory of a man he believed dead. At first, Trevor doesn't say anything. He just freezes, the way someone freezes when they hear a voice they haven't heard in years. A voice they thought was gone forever. The details of the heist are too familiar. The planning, the timing, the subtle style that belongs to only one person. Michael Townley, Michael DeSanta, his best friend, his partner, his brother in crime, a man he buried in his heart and in his memories. Trevor's breath becomes slow, heavy, like the weight of years, suddenly pressing down on him. The heist isn't just news, it's a signal, a message, a ghost returning. Trevor is a complicated man, chaotic on the surface, volatile, loud, fearless, but beneath that wild storm lies something more fragile, a deep, aching attachment to the people he once called family. When he hears that Michael is alive, he feels everything at once: anger, betrayal, relief, confusion, love, and profound hurt. His hands tremble, not with rage, but with shock. For nearly a decade, Trevor lived with the belief that Michael died in North Yankton. He built part of his broken identity around that loss. And now, the truth cracks through that foundation, like lightning splitting the sky. Trevor's world in Blaine County, before he makes any decisions. Trevor drifts through his daily life. In Blaine County, this world is rough, unpolished, and strangely peaceful in its own way. There's the dusty trailer park, the creaking old motels, the starlit nights that stretch deep and endless. There's Ron, Trevor's anxious, loyal friend, who looks up to him with nervous admiration. There's Wade, childlike and warm-hearted, who follows Trevor everywhere. They're misfits, but they are Trevor's misfits. They depend on him, they trust him. Yet even they notice that something is shifting in Trevor. His focus fades, his thoughts drift, his temper flares, and then falls quiet. Just as quickly, he is haunted by the idea that Michael is alive, a clue that feels like destiny. Eventually, Trevor finds the final piece that confirms everything. A small-time criminal mentions the jewelry heist, not just the crime, but a detail that only Trevor would understand. A technique used during the escape, a move that was part of their old crew's playbook. No one else could have taught that. No one else would have done it. Only Michael. Trevor's body goes still. The desert wind brushes past him, as if the world itself is holding its breath. He knows the truth now. Michael faked his death. Michael started a new life. Michael didn't tell him. Michael didn't trust him. The man he mourned was never gone. Trevor sets out a journey of fury and longing. With a slow, deliberate motion, Trevor walks back into his trailer. He gathers a few things, packs lightly, moves like someone entering a dream. He isn't shouting. He isn't violent. He's quiet. Too quiet. This is a dangerous calm, the kind that comes before a storm. He tells Wade they're heading to Los Santos, a city of memories, some warm, some dark, all buried for years. Trevor's truck rumbles to life. The sun hangs low over the desert road, and slowly, steadily, Trevor begins making his way back toward the past he left behind. Every mile brings him closer to Michael. Every mile intensifies the emotional storm inside him, but beneath the fury, there is hurt, deep hurt, old hurt, the kind that only a friend can cause. Entering Los Santos, a city of ghosts. When Trevor finally arrives in Los Santos, the city is buzzing with life. Tall buildings, neon lights, traffic weaving through crowded streets. Trevor has avoided this place for years. It holds too many memories. Memories of heists, memories of friendship, memories of the crew, that once felt unstoppable. He walks through familiar neighborhoods, like a man walking through a dream. The city hasn't changed much, but Trevor has. He feels out of place, like a ghost wandering through someone else's story. But he keeps searching, quietly, deliberately, until at last, he finds what he's been seeking. The moment Trevor sees Michael again, Trevor stands across the street from Michael's house. The sun is setting, casting warm, golden light across the neatly trimmed lawns and the quiet suburban neighborhood. This isn't the world Trevor expected Michael to live in. A big house, a peaceful street, a family, a normal life. Trevor watches in silence. He sees Michael step outside, older, calmer, dressed casually. Michael looks content, relaxed, like a man who escaped the dangerous life they once lived together. Trevor feels something break inside his chest. Not anger, not yet, but loss, a sense of abandonment, a feeling that Michael left him behind. Trevor whispers to himself, barely audible, "You're alive." His voice cracks with a mixture of disbelief and heartbreak. This is the moment everything changes. The explosion of emotion. Trevor approaches Michael with slow, heavy steps. Michael turns and freezes. Their eyes meet. Two lives intertwined by crime, friendship, betrayal, and loyalty stand face to face again. Trevor's emotions rush to the surface. Fury for being left behind, grief for years of mourning, joy that Michael is alive, confusion, longing, nostalgia, heartbreak. It all collides in an emotional storm that Trevor cannot control. He yells, he shakes Michael, he demands answers, he laughs, he nearly cries. It is raw and messy, and painfully human. Michael, caught between guilt and relief, tries to calm him, but Trevor isn't ready for that. For Trevor, this reunion is the unraveling of 10 years of pain. The storm settles. A new path begins. Eventually, the shouting fades. Not because Trevor isn't angry, but because the truth has finally come out. Michael is alive. Michael is here. Michael is real. Trevor breathes deeply, as if exhaling a decade of grief. And though their reunion is chaotic, painful, and emotional, it marks the beginning of the next major chapter in all of their lives. Michael, Franklin, and now Trevor, 3 lives, realigning for the first time in years. The storm is far from over, but something powerful has been restored. A bond, broken, forgotten, buried, is now alive again. Closing section 9. So, as the city lights shimmer and the night deepens around Los Santos, Trevor and Michael stand together once more, older, changed, but still connected by an unbreakable thread of history. The emotional shockwave of Trevor's return will shape everything that follows. The heists, the conflicts, the alliances, the betrayals. But for now, the world is quiet, the night is calm, and the story drifts forward like a slow, soft tide, now that Trevor and Michael have collided once again. After years of silence, after years of wounds that never fully healed, their lives begin to intertwine in new, complicated ways. This section explores the period when the crew starts coming together, awkwardly, slowly, and with emotions that feel both fragile and volcanic. We're entering a chapter filled with uneasy peace, old memories, and quiet tension that moves beneath the surface like deep ocean currents. Let yourself sink softly into this world, a place where friendships are tested, trust is uncertain, and every step forward is delicate. The morning after the reunion, the night Trevor and Michael reunite, is loud, emotional, filled with yelling, accusations, laughter, and heartbreak. But the next morning is quiet, Sunlight filters gently through the windows of Michael's house. Life feels strangely normal, as if the screaming match, the emotional storm, and the shock of the reunion were all just a strange dream. Michael wakes with a heavy mind, the weight of the past resting on his chest. Like an anchor, Trevor, who stayed awake most of the night, sits at the kitchen table, drinking cheap coffee, staring into the distance. The silence between them isn't peaceful. It's loaded, thick, a silence that hums with unspoken feelings. But beneath it all is something important. They are together again, even if it hurts, even if it's complicated. They're sharing the same space. A fragile start. Amanda and the family react. Having Trevor in the house is like tossing a grenade into the quiet suburban life Michael tried to build. Amanda, already frustrated with Michael's lies and detached behavior, feels overwhelmed when this unpredictable, chaotic figure suddenly appears in their home. Tracy hides in her room, peeking out anxiously. Jimmy retreats even further into his games and headphones. Trevor's presence is loud, disruptive, and impossible to ignore. Even when he's sitting still, he's a storm Michael never truly left behind. And yet, there's something honest about Trevor's chaos. Something raw and real. Something Michael misses. Not long after Trevor arrives, Michael brings Franklin over, hoping to ease him into the new dynamic. Franklin walks in with caution. He feels the tension in the air, like a physical weight. Trevor looks at Franklin with sharp curiosity, a mix of suspicion and amusement. To Trevor, Franklin is an outsider, a new addition to a crew Trevor believes he already owns. But Franklin, calm and respectful, keeps his composure. He listens. He observes. He doesn't challenge Trevor. Not yet. There's a subtle spark of potential respect between them. Trevor sees a young man with ambition. Franklin sees a man who could be dangerous or could be a mentor. Their relationship begins quietly, like two wolves circling one another before deciding whether they are enemies or packmates. Lester becomes the anchor again as the emotional chaos unfolds. Lester steps back into the picture, the calm strategist who keeps everything grounded. He acts as the glue, holding the crew together, the voice of reason, who tries to keep Michael and Trevor from tearing each other apart. Lester is patient with Trevor's outbursts, gentle with Michael's guilt, and quietly observant of Franklin's growing role. He is the steady heartbeat of their operations, a reminder that strategy and planning can make even the wildest personalities work together. As the days pass, Trevor and Michael slip into moments of old camaraderie. They laugh about past heists. They argue about old mistakes. They reminisce about their wild days, robbing banks across the Midwest. Sometimes they smile, like brothers reunited. Other times, their eyes harden as memories they'd rather forget rise to the surface. The North Yankton job, Brad, the betrayal, the lies. These topics simmer beneath the surface, like hot coals. Neither of them wants to confront the truth. Not yet. They rebuild their friendship with careful steps, like two men walking across thin ice. But cracks are forming, cracks they can't see yet, cracks that will eventually break wide open. Franklin learns from two worlds, while Michael and Trevor navigate their emotional minefield. Franklin observes everything with quiet intelligence. From Michael, he learns subtlety, how to plan, how to think, how to act with precision. From Trevor, he learns intensity, how to take charge, how to be bold, how to survive a world that doesn't care about rules. Franklin becomes a bridge between their two extremes. He offers calm stability when they fight. He absorbs wisdom When they advise him, he becomes the center of this emerging crew. Even if neither Michael nor Trevor fully realizes it yet, Franklin is growing, not toward crime alone, but toward leadership. The crew begins to form again, slowly. The three of them, Michael, Trevor, Franklin, begin working together. Small jobs at first, minor missions, little opportunities. To rebuild trust, every operation is a quiet test. Can they work together without exploding? Can Michael keep Trevor calm? Can Trevor follow a plan? Can Franklin balance their extremes? Surprisingly, yes. Not perfectly, not smoothly, but enough. Bit by bit, the crew begins to feel like a crew again. There is tension, yes, but there is also connection. A sense that something powerful is being rebuilt. Something dangerous, something meaningful, something that was missing from all their lives. An uneasy peace forms. As weeks pass, a strange harmony settles over their world. Michael feels alive again. Franklin feels motivated. Trevor feels reunited, though still wounded by the secrets Michael keeps. But even in these peaceful moments, there is an undertone of trouble. Michael knows that Trevor still doesn't understand what happened in North Yankton. Trevor knows that Michael is hiding something big, something tied to Brad, something heavy with guilt. Franklin senses that the storm hasn't passed, that this calm is temporary. But for now, they hold on to the peace while it lasts. They enjoy the sparks of their renewed friendship, the beginning of new trust, and the momentum towards something larger, something epic, something dangerous. The next big job, closing Section 10. And so, as night settles gently over Los Santos, Michael, Trevor, and Franklin find themselves at the start of a fragile new chapter. A chapter built on old memories, new ambitions, and fragile trust. Their crew is slowly forming, a trio of men, broken in different ways, but bound by the same fire. Ahead of them lie choices, consequences, and heists that will shape their fates forever. But for now, the world is quiet, the night is calm, and their uneasy peace is enough to carry them forward. Settle your mind, slow your breathing, and let the world of Los Santos drift around you like a quiet dream. In this chapter, the tensions and friendships among Michael, Franklin, and Trevor begin shifting in delicate, complicated ways. This is the period where the crew prepares for their first truly dangerous, high-stakes heists together. Not small-time jobs, not impulsive scores, but carefully orchestrated operations that require trust, precision, and absolute awareness of each other's strengths. Tonight, we walk slowly through this build-up, the planning, the doubts, the emotional shifts, and the subtle moments that bring the trio closer than ever. Even as fault lines grow, just beneath the surface, a new routine for the trio. Days begin to follow, a strange, steady rhythm. Michael comes alive whenever Lester calls. With a new opportunity, his old confidence returns. Bit by bit, the strategist, the tactician, the natural leader. Franklin, eager to grow, absorbs every lesson. He studies the city, its routes, its escape alleys, its hidden shortcuts. He watches how Lester plans, how Michael commands, how Trevor improvises. Trevor, despite his volatility, finds strange comfort in being part of something again. He wakes early, pushes the others to prepare harder, and throws himself into every mission with fearless intensity. It's not perfect, it's not peaceful, but it's a routine, a rhythm, and rhythms bring connection. Lester'sPlans.com. Precise, essential. Lester sits at the center of their operations, a quiet conductor, guiding three very different instruments. He outlines high-risk opportunities, armored truck routes, security vulnerabilities, corporate weaknesses, vulnerable stores, and risky but rewarding targets. His maps, drawings, and computer screens fill his home office with a soft humming glow. Michael listens intently. Franklin takes notes. Trevor paces in circles, sometimes muttering, sometimes startlingly insightful. Lester's voice is steady, a slow, grounding presence that cools even Trevor's fire. In these long planning sessions, a sense of trust forms, a sense of shared purpose, a sense that this crew is becoming something real. The calm before danger. Between jobs, moments of stillness allow each character to reflect on the path ahead. Michael's quiet thoughts. Michael lies awake at night, beside Amanda, staring at the ceiling. He feels both excitement and dread. He wants the thrill, but fears the consequences. He wants success, but fears Trevor's unstable trust. He wants to teach Franklin, but worries about the darkness of the world he's pulling him into. Franklin's private reflection. Franklin sits on his balcony, listening to the distant sounds of Los Santos traffic. He looks out at the skyline and feels torn. He wants to rise, but rise to what? A better life, a richer life, a more dangerous life. He trusts Michael. He's intrigued by Trevor. He wants to be more than a small-time hustler. He knows the risks, but he's ready to take them. Trevor's turbulent emotions. Trevor, in the desert nights, sits awake under the stars, a bottle beside him, a restless mind within him. He is part of a crew again. But is he truly welcomed? Does Michael really trust him? Does Michael still care? The fear of losing Michael again, of being abandoned, brews quietly in Trevor's chest. He hides it behind anger and intensity, but it's there, a silent ache beneath his wild energy. Training and preparation. Franklin's growth. Before big heists, there is training, long drives through the city. At night, Franklin behind the wheel, Michael coaching him carefully, Trevor offering chaotic advice that occasionally proves brilliant. Franklin practices sharp turns, tight squeezes, escape routes through alleys and side streets. His natural driving skills evolve into mastery. He begins to feel like a true getaway driver, not just fast, but smart. Michael sees his potential and feels proud. Trevor sees his potential and feels competitive. The dynamic grows richer, layered with complex emotions, acquiring gear, quiet tension. Before any big operation, the crew must gather equipment. Masks, vehicles, explosives, weapons, tech gear, disguises. Each task reveals something about the trio. Michael likes efficiency. He researches items, buys discreetly, and prefers organization. Trevor prefers improvisation. He steals what he needs, builds what he can't steal, and enjoys the chaos of unexpected solutions. Franklin balances the two. He's calm, resourceful, and focused. These preparation phases often lead to quiet disagreements. Nothing explosive, but the kind of friction that shows how different these three men truly are, and yet they make it work. Every conflict is followed by cooperation. Every disagreement is followed by progress. Their connection deepens in small, subtle ways, learning each other's strengths. As preparations continue, the crew begins to understand each other's roles. Michael, the planner, the strategist, the calm mind under pressure. He sees the big picture. Trevor, the wild card, the unstoppable force, the fearless engine that drives forward when others hesitate. Franklin, the bridge, the balance, the steady, reliable partner who connects Michael's logic with Trevor's intensity. Together, they create something powerful, a dynamic stronger than the sum of its parts. This understanding is essential for the big heists ahead. Quiet conversations, bonds forming. Between planning sessions, small conversations begin shaping the group. Michael and Franklin talk about life, ambition, and family. Trevor occasionally joins, sometimes with jokes, sometimes with anger, sometimes with surprising depth. In private moments, Trevor asks Franklin why he follows Michael. He's curious, suspicious, maybe even protective. Franklin asks Michael about Trevor. He senses the complexity. He cares enough to understand. Michael asks Lester if Trevor can be trusted. Lester gives no easy answers. These small conversations build the emotional threads that bind the story. Threads of loyalty, curiosity, hope, fear, unspoken pain. The first big job looms ahead. Finally, Lester calls them in. The next big heist is ready. A job far more dangerous than the jewel store robbery. A job requiring perfect timing, deep trust, flawless execution, and absolute unity. The trio gathers in Lester's dark, glowing office. The air feels heavier, more serious, more electrified. Lester explains the target, the challenges, the risks, the potential payout. The mood shifts. This isn't just another job. It's a milestone, a test, a moment that will define the future of the crew. Michael feels the weight. Trevor feels the excitement. Franklin feels the opportunity. This is what they've been building toward. The preparation is over. The real story is about to begin. And so, as night settles over the city, the trio stands together. Michael, Franklin, and Trevor, preparing to step into the next chapter of their shared destiny. Pressure is rising. Tensions simmer. Bonds strengthen. Old wounds linger. But for now, they are united. They are ready. And the biggest heists of their lives are waiting just ahead. Let your body loosen. Let your breathing settle. And let the story move around you like gentle waves of night air. This chapter marks one of the first truly large-scale operations that the trio attempts together, a mission that tests their trust, their skills, and the fragile bonds they have begun to rebuild. This is the moment where the crew's potential shines through the cracks of their flawed personalities, where Michael, Franklin, and Trevor must act as one, each bringing their strengths into a single, dangerous symphony. Settle in, allow the world to soften, and let us drift slowly into Section 12. The morning of the heist. The day of the operation begins quietly, strangely quietly. Los Santos wakes with its usual mixture of traffic hum and distant sirens and early morning sunlight spilling across the cityscape. But inside Michael's home, the air feels heavier, calmer, more deliberate. Michael rises early. He dresses in dark clothing, straightens his posture, takes a steadying breath. He looks in the mirror and sees two versions of himself, the suburban father and the mastermind criminal he once swore he'd never become again. Today, that second version must take the lead. Elsewhere, Franklin double-checks his gear, his mind steady, ready. He feels the weight of responsibility, but also the excitement of proving himself on a truly serious operation. Trevor, surprisingly, sits still for a moment, quiet, focused. A storm paused, just before it breaks. 3 men, 3 minds, 3 futures, all converging on a single point in time before the operation begins. The crew gathers at Lester's safe house, a dimly lit room glowing with computer screens, maps, and blueprints. Lester reviews the plan one final time: the target, the escape routes, the timing, the contingency options, each person's role, the risks involved, and the stakes. If anything goes wrong, Michael listens with a steady, measured gaze. Every detail matters, every second counts. Franklin absorbs instructions with quiet focus. He doesn't speak much, but his confidence shows in the way he nods, the way he stands, the way he's ready. Trevor paces behind them, a kinetic force of restless energy. He interrupts sometimes, cracks jokes, adds unnecessary comments. But when it comes to his role, his eyes sharpen. He knows the plan, he knows his place, and for the first time in a while, he feels like he belongs. Lester watches them all, recognizing the strange balance emerging between the trio. A balance fragile enough to break, but strong enough to pull off something incredible. The calm moments before the storm, with the plan finalized, the crew travels to their positions. The drive is long and quiet. Each man alone with his thoughts, Michael's thoughts. Michael reflects on the years he spent chasing peace, and how quickly he returned to chaos. But this time, he isn't driven by greed. He's driven by something deeper. The desire to prove that he still has it. The need to feel alive. The responsibility of guiding Franklin. The complicated pull of repairing his bond with Trevor. He feels all of it settle inside him, like a weight and like a purpose. Franklin's thoughts. Franklin breathes slowly, hands steady on the wheel. This is his chance to rise above the small-time hustles that never gave him purpose. He trusts Michael. He respects Trevor. He wants to succeed. He wants to prove that he belongs in a world where greatness is earned, not just inherited. Trevor's thoughts. Trevor stares out the window of the van he rides in, eyes distant. He tries not to think about betrayal or lies or North Yankton. He focuses instead on the thrill of the job, the rush of unity, the feeling of being part of a crew again. And beneath all of it is a fragile sliver of hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, this new chapter will not end in heartbreak. At the rendezvous spot, the crew suits up. Masks, gloves, tools, weapons, communication devices. Michael checks everyone's gear, touching each piece with careful precision. Franklin adjusts his mask, calm and ready. Trevor fastens his straps, muttering to himself. But beneath that muttering is genuine focus. This is the moment where preparation ends and action begins. Michael looks at his two partners, one young and ambitious, one wild and wounded. He nods once. They nod back. No words are needed. The heist begins. Precision meets chaos. The job unfolds like a slow-motion dance, both controlled and unpredictable. Michael leads. Michael moves first, giving quiet, precise orders. Through the comms, his tone is calm, steady, decisive. He positions the team, signals the timing, and keeps the operation running with the mind of a tactician. Franklin drives. Franklin maneuvers into place with smooth, skillful movements. His role demands timing, awareness, and adaptability, and he delivers flawlessly. He is the backbone of the operation's mobility. Trevor executes. Trevor bursts into action with explosive energy, but this time it's controlled. Every move he makes fits the plan. Every decision shows skill, experience, and surprising discipline. Through tension and adrenaline, the trio work as one. Their voices move through the comms in a coordinated flow, direct, sharp, unified. For the first time since the old days, Michael feels the thrill of a crew that works. For the first time, Trevor feels valued, connected, whole. For the first time, Franklin feels like he belongs to something bigger than himself. No heist ever goes perfectly. And just as they near the final phase, a complication arises. A patrol car changes its route. A guard lingers too long. An alarm buzzes faintly. In a nearby office, the tension spikes. Michael issues quick orders. Trevor adapts instantly. Franklin adjusts the escape timing. Their communication becomes tighter, sharper, almost instinctual. And in that moment, the three of them move with such unity that the danger becomes manageable. And together, they overcome it. Not by luck, but by trust. The escape, a test of Franklin's skill. The final stretch belongs to Franklin. He leads the escape with intense concentration, driving through narrow alleys, across hidden paths, through shortcuts. Only a native of Los Santos would ever know. Michael encourages him. Trevor shouts excitedly. Franklin stays locked in, focused, smooth, fast. The wind rushes, the sirens fade, and slowly, steadily, they slip away, clean, successful, together. When the adrenaline fades, the crew gathers at a safe location. The payout is impressive, enough to feel rewarding, enough to show that they are capable of something great. Trevor laughs with wild relief. Michael smiles, a real, genuine smile. Franklin stands tall, feeling the pride of a job done well. There is tension, yes. Lingering questions, yes. But there is something else too. Something important. Unity. For the first time, the trio feels like a true crew, a partnership, a brotherhood, a force. This moment cements their dynamic, the beginning of something powerful and dangerous and deeply human. And so, as night settles softly over Los Santos, the crew rests after their first major heist, exhausted, proud, and changed. Their bonds have strengthened, their trust has deepened, their potential has revealed itself. But the road ahead is long and twisting. More danger waits, more tensions rise, more secrets will come to light. But for now, in this moment, the trio stands together as one, and the story drifts quietly forward. Now, let the world dim around you. Let your breathing slow and your shoulders rest. This section does not bring loud arguments or explosive conflict. Instead, it brings something quieter, something more subtle, something more human, a gentle unraveling of connections, a slow shift of energy, a soft tension that grows not from anger, but from silence, distance, and words left unsaid. This is the story of how the crew, after their first major heist, begins to drift, quietly, slowly, invisibly apart. The days after the heist. The heist is behind them, the adrenaline is gone, and life begins to settle back into its old rhythms. But something feels different. What once felt thrilling now feels fragile. The unity they formed starts to thin, like fog dissolving as the sun rises. Each man wakes to the same city, but they carry different thoughts in their hearts. Michael feels tired, not physically, but emotionally. A weight pressing behind the ribs. Franklin feels unsure. He wonders if he's stepping into a world he was never meant to enter. Trevor feels something he cannot name, a quiet ache, a restless worry, a sense that the ground beneath him is shifting again. None of them speak about what they feel, and that silence becomes the first crack. Michael retreats into himself. After the heist, Michael returns to his large, quiet house, the home that should bring comfort, but instead brings echoes. He sits on the couch, long after the sun goes down, the glow of the TV blurring in his vision, but he isn't watching, he's thinking. Michael begins to realize that the life he tried to build, the peaceful, suburban dream, is slipping away from him again. He misses excitement, but he also fears where excitement leads. He wants safety, but he also wants purpose. He wants his family, but he wants the rush of the criminal life too. And in that conflict, He withdraws. He answers fewer calls. He sends short replies. He cancels plans, not out of anger, but out of confusion. He doesn't know how to be a father and a criminal mastermind at the same time. So he drifts, quietly, into silence. Franklin waits for guidance that doesn't come. Franklin returns to his small home in shrubbery, feeling both proud and strangely alone. He expected the heist to bring him closer to Michael, a mentor, a guide, someone to show him how to climb higher without falling. But as the days pass, Michael becomes distant. He doesn't reach out. He doesn't invite Franklin to new opportunities. He doesn't share plans. Franklin begins to feel something unfamiliar, uncertainty. Did he do something wrong? Did he misstep? Did Michael lose trust in him? He thinks of Lamar, still stuck in small-time trouble. Franklin wants more than that. He needs direction, a path, someone to believe in him. But instead, he receives polite silence, and that silence feels heavier each day. Trevor feels the shift before anyone else. Trevor lives in chaos, but emotionally, deep beneath the surface, he is more intuitive than he seems. He senses changes in people's tones, their pauses, their distance, and lately, he senses something deepening the space. Between him and Michael, the phone calls are shorter, the jokes fall flat, the invitations never come. Trevor tells himself it's fine, that he doesn't care, that he doesn't need devotion or loyalty or closeness. But the truth is softer, more vulnerable. Trevor fears being left behind. Again, he fears history repeating. He fears betrayal's shadow returning to stand behind Michael's smile. So Trevor pretends not to notice, but quietly, in the stillness of his trailer, beneath the desert stars, he feels the distance, and it scares him. Moments of quiet misunderstanding. None of them argue. None of them fight. None of them say a single harsh word. But small, simple moments begin to pull them further apart. A missed call here. A delayed message there. A plan that never materializes. Michael becomes colder, even without meaning to. Franklin becomes more timid, unsure when to reach out. Trevor becomes quieter, which is rare and telling. And those tiny, quiet moments, barely noticeable, slowly change everything. Days turn to weeks. Los Santos moves, with its usual noise. Cars, crowds, sunlight, sea breeze. But between the trio is something still and heavy. Michael sits in his house, feeling guilty, but unable to act. Franklin walks the streets, feeling left out, but trying not to show it. Trevor stares at his phone, wondering if he should call, or if he should stay silent. None of them want the distance. None of them choose it. But distance grows, all the same, slowly, quietly, unnoticed, until it becomes too large to ignore. A soft, subtle shift in trust. Without confrontation, their trust begins to weaken. Michael fears getting too close to Trevor again. It reminds him of pain. Franklin fears relying too much on Michael. It reminds him of disappointment. Trevor fears being replaced or forgotten. It reminds him of betrayal, but none of them say a word. The silence forms the tension. The distance creates the worry, and the worry creates the beginning of a new conflict, one that will grow in the background until it must be faced. Closing section 13. And so, as we leave this chapter behind, we see three men, no longer united by adrenaline, but separated by quiet doubts. Michael retreats, Franklin waits, Trevor worries. They are not enemies. They are not at war. They are not even angry. They are simply drifting apart, under the gentle pull of their own fears. The storm is not here yet, but the sky is changing, and soon the distance will lead them into deeper tension. uncomfortable truths, and emotional turning points they cannot avoid. But for now, the story rests in quiet, fragile silence, and in that moment, the three of them move with such unity that the danger becomes manageable, and together they overcome it. Not by luck, but by trust. The escape, a test of Franklin's skill. The final stretch belongs to Franklin. He leads the escape with intense concentration, driving through narrow alleys, across hidden paths, through shortcuts only a native of Los Santos would ever know. Michael encourages him. Trevor shouts excitedly. Franklin stays locked in, focused, smooth, fast. The wind rushes, the sirens fade, and slowly, steadily, they slip away, clean, successful, together. When the adrenaline fades, the crew gathers at a safe location. The payout is impressive, enough to feel rewarding, enough to show that they are capable of something great. Trevor laughs with wild relief. Michael smiles, a real, genuine smile. Franklin stands tall, feeling the pride of a job done well. There is tension, yes, lingering questions, yes, but there is something else too, something important. Unity. For the first time, the trio feels like a true crew, a partnership, a brotherhood, a force. This moment cements their dynamic, the beginning of something powerful and dangerous and deeply human. And so, as night settles softly over Los Santos, the crew rests after their first major heist, exhausted, proud, and changed. Their bonds have strengthened, their trust has deepened, their potential has revealed itself. But the road ahead is long and twisting. More danger waits, more tensions rise, more secrets will come to light. But for now, in this moment, the trio stands together as one, and the story drifts quietly forward. Now, let the world dim around you. Let your breathing slow and your shoulders rest. This section does not bring loud arguments or explosive conflict. Instead, it brings something quieter, something more subtle, something more human, a gentle unraveling of connections, a slow shift of energy, a soft tension that grows not from anger, but from silence, distance, and words left unsaid. This is the story of how the crew, after their first major heist, begins to drift, quietly, slowly, invisibly apart. The days after the heist. The heist is behind them, the adrenaline is gone, and life begins to settle back into its old rhythms. But something feels different. What once felt thrilling now feels fragile. The unity they formed starts to thin, like fog dissolving as the sun rises. Each man wakes to the same city, but they carry different thoughts in their hearts. Michael feels tired, not physically, but emotionally, a weight pressing behind the ribs. Franklin feels unsure. He wonders if he's stepping into a world he was never meant to enter. Trevor feels something he cannot name, a quiet ache, a restless worry, a sense that the ground beneath him is shifting again. None of them speak about what they feel, and that silence becomes the first crack. Michael retreats into himself. After the heist, Michael returns to his large, quiet house, the home that should bring comfort, but instead brings echoes. He sits on the couch, long after the sun goes down, the glow of the TV blurring in his vision, but he isn't watching, he's thinking. Michael begins to realize that the life he tried to build, the peaceful, suburban dream, is slipping away from him again. He misses excitement, but he also fears where excitement leads. He wants safety, but he also wants purpose. He wants his family, but he wants the rush of the criminal life too. And in that conflict, he withdraws. He answers fewer calls. He sends short replies. He cancels plans, not out of anger, but out of confusion. He doesn't know how to be a father and a criminal mastermind at the same time. So he drifts, quietly, into silence. Franklin waits for guidance that doesn't come. Franklin returns to his small home in Shrubbery, feeling both proud and strangely alone. He expected the heist to bring him closer to Michael, a mentor, a guide, someone to show him how to climb higher without falling. But as the days pass, Michael becomes distant. He doesn't reach out. He doesn't invite Franklin to new opportunities. He doesn't share plans. Franklin begins to feel something unfamiliar, uncertainty. Did he do something wrong? Did he misstep? Did Michael lose trust in him? He thinks of Lamar, still stuck in small-time trouble. Franklin wants more than that. He needs direction, a path, someone to believe in him. But instead, he receives polite silence, and that silence feels heavier each day. Trevor feels the shift before anyone else. Trevor lives in chaos, but emotionally, deep beneath the surface, he is more intuitive than he seems. He senses changes in people's tones, their pauses, their distance, and lately, he senses something deepening the space. Between him and Michael, the phone calls are shorter, the jokes fall flat, the invitations never come. Trevor tells himself it's fine, that he doesn't care, that he doesn't need devotion or loyalty or closeness. But the truth is softer, more vulnerable. Trevor fears being left behind. Again, he fears history repeating. He fears betrayal's shadow returning to stand behind Michael's smile. So Trevor pretends not to notice, but quietly, in the stillness of his trailer, beneath the desert stars, he feels the distance, and it scares him. Moments of quiet misunderstanding. None of them argue. None of them fight. None of them say a single harsh word. But small, simple moments begin to pull them further apart. A missed call here. A delayed message there. A plan that never materializes. Michael becomes colder, even without meaning to. Franklin becomes more timid, unsure when to reach out. Trevor becomes quieter, which is rare and telling. And those tiny, quiet moments, barely noticeable, slowly change everything. Days turn to weeks. Los Santos moves, with its usual noise. Cars, crowds, sunlight, sea breeze. But between the trio is something still and heavy. Michael sits in his house, feeling guilty, but unable to act. Franklin walks the streets, feeling left out, but trying not to show it. Trevor stares at his phone, wondering if he should call, or if he should stay silent. None of them want the distance. None of them choose it. But distance grows, all the same, slowly, quietly, unnoticed, until it becomes too large to ignore. A soft, subtle shift in trust. Without confrontation, their trust begins to weaken. Michael fears getting too close to Trevor again. It reminds him of pain. Franklin fears relying too much on Michael. It reminds him of disappointment. Trevor fears being replaced or forgotten. It reminds him of betrayal, but none of them say a word. The silence forms the tension. The distance creates the worry, and the worry creates the beginning of a new conflict, one that will grow in the background until it must be faced. Closing section 13. And so, as we leave this chapter behind, we see three men, no longer united by adrenaline, but separated by quiet doubts. Michael retreats, Franklin waits, Trevor worries. They are not enemies. They are not at war. They are not even angry. They are simply drifting apart, under the gentle pull of their own fears. The storm is not here yet, but the sky is changing, and soon the distance will lead them into deeper tension. uncomfortable truths, and emotional turning points they cannot avoid. But for now, the story rests in quiet, fragile silence.